All right, there we
Hi.
go. So grateful to see you all. Thank you for being here. We're super, super grateful. Happy to have you all here. We're going to say hi in just a moment, but we want to welcome you to bonus session number 2.
Yeah.
And let us know in the comments that you guys can hear us okay. I'm going to use my headset here just as our little microphone so that you guys can hear us clearly. And we are in, yes, okay, great.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you so
Hi,
much,
Courtney.
Courtney. So, so grateful. So bonus session number 2, the topic for today, and we do have one of the VIP hot seats that I have the question right here, and I'm so happy that you're on, Courtney. So today we're going to talk about trust, intuition, and are we playing it safe or are we playing in soul?
Mm.
It's a very big and beautiful conversation. And it leads right into actually something that came forth even in our Thrive thread this morning, before not Q&A, before Creation Circle.
Yeah, I did.
And so, yeah, it was a really powerful conversation that I want to weave into here because this happens sometimes. This comes up when we're expanding, right? Are we playing big? Are we playing small? Are we playing in the same old? Are we playing in patterns? And this is really important for us to look at because when we can lean back actually. We don't have to lean so close. We can lean back. We got the mic over here. I need to get one of those little like portable mics, those cute
We
little.
have two.
I brought
We
them.
have the little black ones
I
that you
brought them. They're just not charged.
Okay, all right. We
They
have
just
them.
not
We
charged.
have them.
Like those little fuzzy ones, the
Okay.
cute little fuzzy ones.
Yeah.
So we are currently right now, we are in St. Augustine, Florida, which is what, 4.5 hours north of where we were. We got a late start yesterday. We're making our trek back up to Canada, and then we'll be home for what, 3.5 weeks, and then we're gonna come.
I thought it was 3 weeks.
It's
So
about
it's
three
three and
weeks.
a half.
Wow.
Then you tell me a month. Then
No,
you tell me
three.
2
It'll be
months.
three.
Oh
It'll
my
be
gosh.
three.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And then we begin our journey back down to Florida. And so the kids are over there, they're hanging out. We're in one of these really cute, like this is like an oversized living room. Check out this space. And there's the kiddos over there.
Then bungalow.
Oh, mummy, mummy, mummy. And so it's right on the ocean, sweet little spot. It was a total find, right? Where we are.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I want to bring this in because this taps into trust. So I'm going to pause there for a second and tell you our trust story of how we landed here. But I want to say hi to everybody first, okay? So I'm going to say hi to Lainey, hi Amanda, hi Courtney, hi Gina, hi Zoe, hi iPhone, whoever iPhone is, and hi to everyone.
Laura.
It might be Laura.
Yeah.
And hi to everybody who's
Hi,
catching the
Lainey.
replay. We're so grateful to have you all here. And we're going to do our best to keep this to about 45 minutes just so we can get on the road again as well and get going. And if there's any questions that come up as we're in this session today, please let us know. When Gabriel starts to speak, I'll pass it over like this
Yeah, yeah.
and then you can hear him more clearly. And so I want to start the conversation with trust, okay? The trust conversation. Because when we're making big decisions, whether it's when to get on the road, whether it's where to travel to, whether it's buying or renting a new house, whether it's making a business decision, whether for some parents they choose on, where do their kids go to school? There's so many decisions. You guys know, like I don't have to fill in all the examples. There's so many decisions that we make in a day. And those decisions, big or small, they do require us to trust. Because if we can't trust our own internal guidance system, then what happens is we're kind of in that wobble that we talked about yesterday. We start to wobble, we start to feel the swirl, and that leaves us in a space of feeling uncertain. And when we feel uncertain, it's harder to make a decision any which way because we're not fully trusting ourselves. So it's really important in any decision that you're making in your life, especially when it comes to leading your purpose or making big changes, to tap back in, find your center again, come back to yourself, come back to source, the divine creator, whatever you want to call it, and strengthen that inner trust, that inner guidance system, your compass. Some people call it the North Star. This is about tuning back into your inner truth always. Before I make any decision, I'm always bringing it in. I'm taking it up and I'm really listening for that higher guidance. So even when we were supposed to be back up north already, but then there were changes that were happening. And I want to give you this, highlight this as an example, because there were changes that were happening. We reconnected with Gabriel's family, which was really beautiful. He hadn't seen his family in over 14 years. And so that was really emotional and beautiful. And we wanted to be able to stay down here a little longer to have some more time with them. And so that required of us to make a different decision. And we had to trust, right? We had to trust that if we make this decision, that everything's going to work out. Somehow everything's going to work out. And we made this decision in the midst of a workshop and a master class, right? It's one thing. And if any of you have ever done a master class or run any workshop or event or in person or online, you know that there's many moving parts. And for me, I realized something about myself that I really like stability. It's easier on my nervous system. So doing something like this in flux, it's been different, right? It's been different for me. But what I'm knowing about myself and learning is that it's requiring me to go deeper in, find my center, find my trust so that I can stay calm and stabilized, right? And so I think that this is a really important conversation. So when we made these decisions, and jump in whenever you feel, because I know you might have some stuff to add to this. When we made that decision, we said, okay, so where are we going to go? Our Airbnb was for a certain time. And then I was tuning in and I said, okay, is it in the highest and best good for us to go back north right now? There was an event in Chicago that I was supposed to go to that I had paid to go to. And immediately, as soon as I said it, I felt a no. When I talked to Ari about it, both of us were like, no, we're supposed to be right here. That's bringing what our mind would sometimes say, well, you've already paid for the ticket. This is where you're supposed to be. You've already committed to that thing. But everything in my internal world was like, no, this is where we're supposed to be. So that requires a deep level of trust. It wasn't that I was reneging on anything, right? I wasn't saying, can you give me my money back? I didn't do that. I paid for the ticket and it's my choice if I'm not going, right? Because something bigger was being rearranged. Many times in our life, our lives are being rearranged for us because we're choosing the next layer of our purpose and the unfolding of our purpose. And even making the decision to be down here, like giving Gabriel the opportunity to be able to play pickleball with the pros. This is huge. Do you know how many people play pickleball? Like I'm thinking even down in Mexico, that there's tournaments all the time and they're on Duper and they're getting their scores up and everything. And they would love to be able to play with the pros. They're watching videos of the pros all day long to try to figure out how to up their game and get better at what they're doing. And the fact that we ended up staying down there and in that next day that we decided to stay was when he ended up meeting all the pro players that you see that you would watch on TV that are doing something with pickleball, right? Like it seems so trivial, but it's not. All of these things are like pearls on a string. They're all linked. And one decision this way or this way determines a different path and a different outcome. And this requires our intuition. So when you get those intuitive hunches, when you get that intuitive pull to go this way or that way, or to, I thought I was going this way, but now I'm feeling called to go this way, that's a recalibration and a recalibration based on what you're focused on. Do you want to add to that before I go on? Because I want to talk about what they're focused on.
Yeah. I would just say that when it comes to following our intuition, there's a pull that we feel most of the time, right? And sometimes there's confusion a little bit because the mind is wanting to stick to what it said it would do and all of these things because integrity is big to most of us, right? We want to have integrity, we want to honor our word and everything. But I think sometimes we mix up the whole honoring your word thing with actually being present to what's really going on. Because sometimes even honoring your word, like you say it is, or the way that most people understand it, could actually be a hindrance. And I'll tell you why. Some people understand honoring your word as in always doing what you said you would, right? But sometimes there will come a time, there's always a time, in fact, where you may want to do something but something shows up that might stop you. Here's the thing about that. If something shows up that stops you, then on some level internally, you have a feeling that you don't want to do that thing completely because if you want to do anything completely, it's done. It's done. Our desire is self fulfilling. If we really, really desire something fully and wholly, it's always complete. So if you find that there's an obstacle in doing something, then there's still a bit of resistance in you to fine tune, right? So honoring your word is good. And it's good to honor your word, I say, because you know yourself by your word. But if something like that does show up and you have something that's blocking you, take the time to examine that fully and see where you really are. Because we do a lot of things out of obligation. A lot of things that humans do is out of obligation. It's like I said I would do this, so I do it. So then you're bound by your word. So then your word is more powerful than you. How about, and this is, I'm not saying lack integrity or be willy nilly about anything. What I'm saying is this: if you have to make a change, make sure and deal with it with the person and say, hey, So this thing here is what happened right here. I said I would do this, but it turns out that this is showing up right here. Renegotiate and talk to the person, let them understand. And then if you need to make adjustments, leave yourself free to make the adjustment that's necessary. Because it kind of sucks to be stuck and bound by a word that you put out before in your present, right? And not be able to feel yourself back into being at ease and connected. It really sucks when that happens. So it's not that you're dishonoring your word, right? You either keep your word, or if you can't keep it, you make that adjustment in conversation so that they're able to feel honored as well, right? And everybody's restored, right? But you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're trapped into some obligation that you put out there before that now you just can't meet. Because what if something does come up? Like, let's say you planned to have a person over by you for the night, but then a flood happens and the entire place is flooded out, and there's no way that you could get to them or they could get to you. That's some things that seem like you can't control, right? And at that moment, you can't say, well, I'm just going to make this flood go away by my manifesting power or whatever. You probably could, to be absolutely honest. But the truth about it is that you're in a position where sometimes you're not able to always honor what you put forth. If that does happen, there needs to be a change made. And the whole purpose of me saying all this is that I've seen too many people put things out there and then feel like they're bound, feel like they're bogged down, feel like they can't even complete what they started, and then feel defeated or deflated. And that is not a good feeling. So when on purpose, it's wise of us to recognize in the moment what we can and what we can't control, and then be willing to make adjustments if necessary, but also keep that honor of our word with ourselves, right? Because that's what it's about. It's really about honoring ourselves and keeping in our minds what we really are so that we could continue to create freely. So I hope that that does land in a way that makes sense to you. Go ahead. Yeah.
And it's really tuning back into your highest self-expression.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's
That's
your
what it is.
highest self-expression. It's your highest soul calling. So when we talk about aligning with your purpose, this is really aligning with your soul self. You're aligning with the highest expression, the highest vision, the highest version. And also, this is why we've been talking so much in the last couple of days. When you also start to lift up so that it's not just about what I am doing and what I want, right?
Yes.
If it would have been just me making the decision, I probably would have been in the vehicle. I probably would have been up in Chicago. But I was also tuning in for the whole, what's in the highest but in good and best good for the whole, for everyone's greater fulfillment, for everyone's greatest expression, for everyone's purpose. And when I tuned into that, there was a difference. And the difference was based on the whole, you're staying here. And then when that decision is made, then you got to trust. You got to trust that the alignment is there. You got to trust that the guidance is being given, and then you got to trust the step that you're taking. Things are always being reworked and rearranged for us based on the people. Some people call it timeline, some people call it reality. It's a choice point. Every choice you make creates a path. If I choose this, then that's a path. If I choose that, then that's a path. And sometimes we're on one path and it's working for a certain time period. And then all of a sudden you get this like nudge, you get this tap, you get this like up level experience where you're like, I don't know, something's not feeling good. Something's not working right. This is what happened when we ended up in the next Airbnb. We booked it and then we got there and we were all like, nope. At least the four of us, we were like, no. I can't speak for Gabriel, but all four of us, our vibes were like, nope. Even the kids were like, we can't stay here another night. We cannot. And it wasn't that it was really bad, but it wasn't great. And there was a vibe. There was just a vibe. And then, of course, the internet wasn't working for the two
No,
days that we ended up being there. That was a
that
problem.
was a problem, I would say, right? Because for our connection with you guys and everything,
Yeah.
which is what we did want to uphold,
Yeah.
right? The internet was giving a little trouble, and that's no deal because we do
Not a
need.
little trouble. There was no internet.
Yeah, so that was a little challenge,
Yeah.
and we realized that we did have to move. And I would say that that was the basis of moving, if anything. Everything else seemed to be all right to me.
Yeah.
In my
It
world,
was
everything was
fine.
all right,
It
but
was okay.
but the internet thing was definitely a challenge. And again, that's the same thing with the word, right? Because we gave our word to them to be there, etc. But then if something shows up that stops us from doing what we need to do while we're there, then that has to be addressed. Because it would suck to be there and then not be able to connect with you guys like we intended to, right? So this is where minor adjustments have to happen sometimes, and we're okay with making those minor
Yeah.
adjustments. And you can, I believe that you could allow yourself
Yeah.
to be free with that too,
Yeah.
and not in any way stopped or stymied by things like that, right? Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes your purpose, for the most part, when you're living your purpose, you guys, it will start to be consistent. There will be a consistency in what you're doing and how you're living and how you're creating. And then if you're going to up level, though, if you're up leveling your purpose, if you're up leveling any part of you, your money, your internal conversation, your mindset, your choice point, your goals, whatever you are up leveling, there are going to be adjustments then along your path where you're going to find that all of a sudden it feels like, what? Like I got to adjust over here. Now I'm over here. Now I'm over here. And it's to the outside world, it seems like an effing mess. People are like, what is going on with this person? Now they're here. No, now they're here. Now they're here. Now they're here. Now they're here. But you're like, I got it all. It's okay. Internally, I feel calm. Internally, I know that this is exactly where I need to be. Any of you ever experienced that? Either where you're watching someone else or you yourself have experienced it? Can you go talk to them, please?
No, you go ahead. I'll go ahead in a second.
Okay. um, there's these little adjustments that are being made. And so it might feel unsettling, but it's because you're being rearranged. You're being moved around, literally sometimes. Sometimes it's vibrationally, sometimes it's mentally, sometimes it's spiritually. Then there's the physical that has to get into alignment with all these bigger changes that are happening. Bigger challenges, changes as in your purpose being fulfilled, bigger changes in what you're choosing for yourself. At some point, your physical reality has to realign too. So your physical steps will be rearranged, your physical steps will be reordered, as they say, to be in alignment with your purpose. And so every time, and I just want you to log this in your mind, every single time, I'm so happy this aligns with you. Every single time you up level where you're like, okay, I'm going after this goal, or I want this thing, or I've got this vision, or I've got this dream, or I had this drop down. We hear this from our clients all the time. I got this drop down, I got the divine download. Okay, great. We get it too. And then the adjustments start because you're like, I'm working on a higher timeline here. I'm working in a different reality here. So then at some point, your physical reality will have to adjust too, and it adjusts to you. It adjusts to your choices. It adjusts to your framework. It adjusts to your goals and intentions and your purpose. And so it may look a little wobbly sometimes, and that's okay. And the coolest thing is, the moment we dropped in and we were like, okay, so it does feel time. We woke up that morning and I was like, it feels time. It feels like it's time to get up and go. It feels like it's time to make our journey back up for whatever the reason, right? Like it just felt like it. And we were able to release 2 days of the Airbnb. We could have found another Airbnb, but nothing was working out. That's the other thing to pay attention to. When you think, you're like, I think that this is what we're going to do. And I think this is the path that we're going to do forward. And then things aren't working as smoothly as you want. Yes, you can keep forging forward, or you can come back to yourself and listen and listen and listen. And this requires your intuition. When your intuition drops in, it will then say, yes, do this. No, don't do that. Yes, go this way. No, don't do it will give you absolute clarity. But you have to almost in the midst of things moving, you have to slow down and you have to reconnect, and then reconnecting, the answers will drop down. And then it's been amazing. Like since we left yesterday, we ended up in this beautiful beach town in St. Augustine. We're on the ocean. It was incredible. And the place that we ended up staying at was like such a gem that we found, that these are the when you can go, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. You can then be so grateful and be like, I'm so grateful for this experience. I'm so happy that we're here. This is because of listening to that inner guidance system. So hopefully that makes sense. So this is about trust and intuition. And then I want to talk about playing safe or playing in soul, but I also want to bring forward Courtney's hot seat, if you're okay with that.
I just like to
Yeah,
say
you want
one
to add
thing
something?
before that
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so regarding the idea of things not working out, I'd like to address that. Um, it's not that things aren't working out, it's that things are working out in a way that sometimes you don't quite understand, right? Things work out not necessarily in patterns like we understand all the time. Sometimes there's variation, like a tree growing, sometimes a tree grows and you see a branch come from a place that you're not too certain it would have come from. It might branch off at a time that's unexpected. That does not mean that the tree is not growing how it's supposed to grow. It just means that this is a different shape and that maybe It's a bit more random than you expected it to be, and that's okay. So when we're looking at things and thinking that things aren't working out, it's not really that they aren't working out. It's that they're working, but they're working in ways that you can't see the full picture of. If you were to watch a tree at the end and see the full picture of the tree, you would see that it had grown into a full tree still and that it's still awesome. But maybe that branch is not where it was expected for you, right? But it's still growing. That's what I really wanted to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's great.
Yeah.
And so the hot seat that came in was this. So what to do, and I shortened this a little bit. What to do when you feel like so many things are dropping in to do with purpose. So there's three parts to this, okay? So what to do when it feels like there's so many things dropping in. One, when there's a lot of things dropping in, and this can happen, okay? Because there are multiple realities, multiple timelines, multiple versions of your experience that you could experience, you're given options. And sometimes we love options. How many of you love options? How many of you love options? I like having options. But when there's lots of options, sometimes the lots of options get overwhelming. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's like trying to choose a paint color. Any of you ever tried to like choose a paint color? You go to the place and you're like, look at all the different shades of blue. Look at all the different shades of coral. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to choose which one? Right. And it can take forever. It can feel like it takes forever. And most of the time, people take home the paint things and then they put them against the wall and then they test them out and then they put them against other colors. And they got to go through this sifting and sorting process in order to choose because we have so many options. Now, when there's lots and lots of options, that's a great thing. It means you're in an expansion moment. When there's options, there's expansion. And when there's expansion, there are options. And again, it's not that there's like a right path and a wrong path. There's just variation in terms of reality, in terms of what you want to choose. So the very first thing that I do when I see multiple options before me, I remind myself that it's not that I'm going to make a wrong choice, is that there's options that create different reality. Different reality. That's it, and that each choice point, each option will take me down a certain path. It's like what the story I was just sharing, right? If it's like choose your own adventure. All of life is choose your own adventure. You're going to choose to stay, you're going to choose to go, you're going to choose to do this, you're going to choose to do that. You're going to choose this piece or that piece, right? And each time you choose, it creates a different outcome. It creates a different reality. So know that none of them are wrong. It's just about tuning in. This is what comes down to what I was just saying a moment ago about intuition and trust. This is why we highly encourage within Thrive, for our light leaders especially, that you cultivate trust and intuition. Because when you have strong intuition and you have that strong intuition allows you to deepen your trust, you stop second guessing so much. There's nothing worse than being in the flip flop, flip flop, flip flop, flip flop, right? Like, what do I choose? Do I do this? I do that? Do this? Gabriel's watched me do it how many times saying, Gabriel's like, oh, come on now, it's not that hard, right? And so we then have to come back to ourself, come back to our intuition, come back to our truth, come back to our source. And the moment you get calm, as long as we can see you, when you get calm, then the truth will reveal itself. Anything you want to add to that before I go into
No, go ahead. Go
second
ahead.
question? Okay. So the second question is how to balance it all. And the third question is what to focus on when you get overwhelmed. And I think these two tie in really well. So balance, this is where it ties into something that came forward in one of the Thrive thread this morning, how to balance it all. Balance being creative, balance business, balance life, balance if you have children, balance your purpose, balance the ideas that are coming in. It's a balancing act. There's a belief that you never really achieve balance in the sense of like I got it, I nailed it, because then a win comes and then you got to readjust again. There's always micro tweaks that are happening inside of you in your body. I learned this in yoga that when you're doing a balancing posture, even though you're like, okay, I got it, it's solid. If you actually pay attention to what's happening in your body, all of your muscles, especially in your feet, are doing these micro adjustments and micro tweaks to keep you balanced. The same is happening. Okay. So the micro adjustments could be in your mindset. And this is what I was sharing in the Thrive thread, that when a lot of stuff is coming, you have to, it's not like we need something new. It's that we have to be reminded to come back to ourselves and come back to some basic, simple principles and tools that work 100% of the time if you do the work. That's the truth. A lot of people are looking for like the next shiny thing, the next shiny whatever that's going to like solve this big thing. And that's going to be the thing that's going to like heal everything. And being in this industry for 23 years now as a practitioner, but also starting this spiritual journey when I was like 3, same thing with Gabriel. After a while, it's like you see it all and you watch, it's like bell bottoms. Okay. How many of you have watched the bell bottom come back and then go and come back and then go and then come back and then go, trending, right? I think I've seen it at least 4 or 5 times now in my journey.
Yeah.
The high rise pants, I've seen that at least 3 times. That was a big thing when I was like 12. And then it came back. I can't remember. I've seen it 3 times. Now it's in again. The high rise. I saw the exact same jeans, the high rise jeans with the big flared pants, wide pants, that I was obsessed with when I was what, 18, 17, something like that. Everything moves in cycles. You'll see repeats.
And funny enough, that's why some people, I've met people before who they look like hoarders because they save their clothes from way back when.
Yeah.
They say, I just save them because I know they're going to come back around again.
Yeah.
Because truly,
Yeah.
that's really what happens,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they might have like a slight
Yeah, yeah,
variation
yeah.
to them the next time around, but it's the same thing all over again. You
And
know,
it's just rebranded. They
yeah,
just rebrand it. They're
same
like,
thing.
here's the next best thing. And I think we have to catch that because that's what most of the world is doing. Most of the world is getting caught in the next best thing, the next best modality, the next best flashy thing, the next best tool, the next best whatever. And I will be honest with you, after all the certifications I've done, after all of the programs that I've taken, after all the tools and teachings that I have done over my career, and this is 2+ decades, there are some tried, true, tested, real, grounded, consistent tools that I always come back to. Always. They're the same tools, they're the same practices. So it's not that we don't have the tools anymore. We have them. It's that we're not doing them. And the worst part is when we see the cycle coming back again, when we see the pattern coming back again, we think that there's something wrong with us or our choices. How could I be in this situation again? How could I be facing the same thing again? How could I be looping again in the same thing? I've done so much work. I've done so much la 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 la. And this is what I shared with our thrivers this morning. And I want to bring some of it here with you because I think it's relevant. If a cycle repeats, it's because there's another layer that has to be healed and cleared and that's been revealed now, that has to be revealed now for your next level of growth and because you're ready for it now. It's like our purpose. I believe when we're children, when we come in, we have full access to everything. We know exactly who we're going to be. You shared this the other day. We know exactly who we're going to be, our codes, our experience, and then little by little the world shapes us and the world conditions us and we start to form amnesia, spiritual amnesia. We go to sleep until at some point, hopefully along our journey, some it's in their 20s, others in their 30s, some in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, some in their 90s, some all the way till in their hundreds. They all of a sudden go, Eureka, this is what I came here for. And then they go to town and they do the thing. Doesn't matter what season or cycle, as long as you do it while you're here, right? And just like there's layers to opening and reawakening our purpose and layers of our purpose unfolding, the same is true of the stuff. Some people call it trauma, the stuff that we all have had stories and pains about. There's times where we're ready to deal with certain things, and there's times that we're not. There's times when we finally acquired that tool or teaching, or maybe we have the support around us that finally we can bust through that piece. So then our consciousness goes, she's ready. She's got the right support. This is what happened to one of our thrivers. She's got the right support right now. She has all the tools. She's done the things over and over and over and over again. And it's that one sticking point that came back again with a sting. But in that sting, it brought up shame. It brought up guilt. It brought up the feeling and the conversation of, I can't believe I'm facing this again. And then she was feeling like, that's an anomaly. It's not. We all go through that. And we hit that wall when we hit the edge of ourself, when we're ready for our growth. The question becomes, what are you going to do in that moment? And what most people will do, they will fall back into the same loop and pattern. They'll feel bad for a moment, then they'll go do something to feel good for a moment, and then they'll start the re-loop cycle all over again. That's what most people do. What I shared with her was this: you have the right support. You showed up, you shared vulnerably in the community. We're here to love you. We've got you. And I said to her, this is not about doing anything new. This is about looking at what's coming up right now, going back into the portal, go back and do the subconscious clearing, go back into the portal, do the inner child work, clear what's coming up. And what I would really do is if you're noticing that there's a pattern, you have to go create something new. If you want something new, you got to create something new. If you want to create a new way, you want new whatever it is that you're facing, you have to be willing and courageous to do something different. You can't keep living and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Remember that whole saying, doing something over and over again, the same old thing over and over again, expecting different results is the definition of what now?
You know,
Insanity, right? And so this is why it feels crazy in our heads sometimes. It feels like, holy cow, this again? Yeah, because what did you do different? And for some of you, some of the world will do micro small changes, and that's okay. Maybe that's all you can do right now. Some of you, it's big leaps and bounds, and that's what you can do right now. For most of you, and this is what we see as the solution or as the answer to this is to plug into consistent tools that work and ground in and do it again. And then having the support, the love, the care, the guidance to remind you that you're not off, to remind you of the truth, to give you some love, to give you some energetic high fives and hugs. You've got this. And to ground in and do the thing and do the thing and do the thing. Anything you want to add to that?
no, do the
No,
thing.
do the thing and do the thing, do the
Do
thing.
the thing.
Okay. And so the overwhelm then, if that's a pattern that's coming up, and let me know how many of you experience that as a regular, like that's a pattern. Overwhelm comes up regularly, or in the moments when things are really like big or you're changing a lot. I know for me, overwhelm used to be something that came up a lot. Yeah. When they're big, right? Yeah. Lately, so much. Yep. Big goals, big dreams. That's exactly it. When you have big goals, big dreams, there's going to be big options. And then those big options, if we're not centered or we don't have that energetic support around us to help us kind of clear that chaos and help us fine tune, it can feel really overwhelming. 100%. For me to get out of overwhelm, I get support. If you like to talk, you got to talk it out. You like to journal write, you got to journal write it out. And then you got to come back to your center. You got to come back to your center and you got to come back to the tools that you know work. And this is something Gabriel and I take pride in this, that we have had 2+ decades, our whole life really, to simplify the tools. There's a lot of tools that I learned that I do not use anymore because it was a waste of time and energy. It slowed me down. I don't want to be slowed down. I want to keep moving forward. There were tools that I learned along the way that kind of worked and didn't work. That's why we're so refined in our process. We're so refined in the work that we do with our clients. That's why we're not coming out with the big flashy next thing. I don't think the world needs the flashy next big thing. That's like the new bottom craze. We don't need the next big flashy thing. Healing has been happening forever, you guys. Healing wasn't just something that came along 2 years ago. There are many people, my mentors were doing healing work for 30, 40, 50 years before I came on the scene. And when I look at that, I know that healing has sped up. I know that energy and light is speeding up. I know that there are new light particles that we're having access to now. They were activating certain light particles that were different than what we're activating now, but we're all still activating. There are codes and seeds of light within us that have always been there. And there's a time for those seeds to be activated. So this is why for us, it's like the simpler, the better. What do we need to do to live in alignment with our purpose? You got to choose it first. You have to know that I'm ready for this next level. I'm ready for the next evolution of my purpose and what I'm here for. You got to choose it. That's the very first thing. Because if you don't choose it, then someone else is going to choose for you, or your ego is going to choose for you, or your pain is going to choose for you. So you have to choose it. You have to be like, my purpose, fulfilling my purpose now, not in a year, not in 10 years, not in 10 months, not in 5 months, now is the most important thing for me. And if you choose that for yourself, then the energy is going to come up and around you and it's going to say, okay, let's go. And then you're going to be faced with options. The moment you choose, you're going to be filled with options. When you activate, you're going to be filled with options. But options are great because with options, you get to discern. It's like putting all the options on the table and you get to choose. You get to use your intuition, you get to discern, you get to distill it down, and you get to tune into each piece. Do I like this? Do I want that?
Yeah, with options comes a sense of freedom. If you
Hmm.
didn't have options and you had to choose, you would feel like you had no real
Yeah.
choice. You would feel forced. Therefore, having options and knowing your options allows you to feel that freedom in choosing. Yeah.
And then with those choices, then using your intuition and trust, you discern. We're going to activate. This is what we're going to be doing in Thrive and in Light Leadership. We're going to be activating those seeds of light, activating your codes. This is new, like new content, old content. Do you know what I mean? Like it's new in the sense of it's new to you. What I'm going to activate is going to be new to me. What Gabriel's going to be activating is new to him. What you're going to activate is going to be new to you. But we're going to be using the same techniques that we've always used. If ever you've taken any of our classes, our meditations, our activations, there's a certain process that we like to follow because we just know it works. We've guided meditation for more than 2 million, 20 million people now at this point because of
Yes.
India. So it's probably like over 25 million people now at this point we've facilitated meditation for. We know it works. We know the process. We know what's going to activate you. And like I said before, when you know your mission and you know your truth, and you know just by you being, you know what you bring to the world, you can do it anywhere. We could be passing through a hallway and we'd be activating. I could go walk on the beach and pass people and be activating people and the world because I know that's just part of my truth. Same thing for Gabriel. He's bringing light to the world. He showers the world with light all day long. He could do that anywhere. We just get to do it in a really cool closed container like Thrive or Light Leadership, right? So that's the next phase is to activate what's in you, activate what's dormant, activate what's been sleeping, and activate what you are ready to open up, which will probably give you some more options, but that's a good thing because then we're going to get discern. We're going to tune into these options, what feels good. And you know, it's easier. I at least find it's easier for me to get super refined clarity when there's an amplification of the field, which happens only in community. When we're left to our own, you're left with your own thoughts, you're left with your ego, you're left with your past, you're left with your shadow, you're left with all the loops. And this is why sometimes people can't get clarity on what's the next step, what's the next piece, how does this fit together? Because we're stuck in our own self and we know our loops and we know our patterns. So when you're in conscious community, the energy gets amplified, you get even more clarity, and then also being able to voice it or talk it through with the community. We're going to do more of that in the sessions. We're going to have some breakout rooms. We're going to have some time where you guys get to actually discern with each other in conscious community, in conscious space with other people who have the same heart, have the same heart. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the same heart, the same intentions, and speak a common language. You know, a lot of the times the communication problem is not that people don't really want to hear us. It's sometimes that they can't hear us, funny enough. Because when you're speaking at a certain level, for instance, if I came into a room and I started speaking about everything that my soul knows, and I started speaking the language that is associated with that, all right, many people will find it uneasy to listen to that, not because my voice is annoying, but because what I'm speaking about is so far from human, natural, what we call natural human experience, or the way that we interact right now in society, that they'd have to take a leap to even listen to a few words of what I'm saying in the first place, right? And so when you have a community that's functioning in a way that there's a common context set for the conversation. There's a common language in the conversation that everybody understands and resonates with. And they have a setup along those lines. You're now going to have a conversation that makes sense to the individuals that are there. And then you and them can get even closer in going into greater detail, having greater conversations, express things that are in common, and you have that comfortable space to work within. Whereas in a random environment, you'd have to go sift through that environment to see if it's okay, firstly. And you might find yourself getting stopped from saying what you wanted to say and growing what you needed to grow just because of that, right? So there is an option where when you do connect with a community that's in that same frequency or at least on the same wavelength as you, right? Like a radio station, at least they listen to the same radio station you're listening to, then you're jamming together, right? And by radio station, I'm talking about frequency once again, right? So if you're jamming together and you're rocking your head to the same music, right? you're getting along. The relationship is there, right? There's that relatedness, and that's what the community is really great with. You'll find those people who are jamming on the same station that you're jamming on. So when you go out there, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're never alone. You know you're not a solo thinker in the world, just walking through the world and never connecting with anybody, never really getting to speak what's on your heart or on your mind or grow what's on your heart or mind. You're connected, right? And that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last piece that I want to add to this, and then we're going to let you guys go and we're going to get on the road here,
Yeah.
is the question we have for you is, do you want to play safe or do you want to play in your soul? Two different S's. They're very, very different. Do you go to the bathroom? Just right here. Right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
beautiful. You want somebody to go with you?
And so playing safe versus playing in soul. And just feel that for a moment. Just feel into that. What does it feel like to you when you play safe? What does it feel like to you when you play safe? And what does safe mean to you? For me, when I tune into that, and I would love to hear what that feels like for you all. When I feel into playing safe, it feels comforting. I feel very comfortable. I feel grounded. I feel clear. And yet it feels like this. And there's times in our lives where we do need that. When there's been major disrupt, major changes, major uproar, we sometimes need to stabilize. So there's nothing wrong with playing safe. Okay. I want you to know that there's nothing wrong with playing safe. If you feel like you're in that zone, then that's okay. Maybe this is your stabilizing, another S. Maybe safety, playing safe is to stabilize. And once you stabilize, then you really get to elevate up. So I want you to look at that for yourself. Playing safe, what does that mean to you? For me now, playing safe is exactly what I just described. And maybe when there's major change happening, I need that safety. I need to feel safe. I need to feel supported. I need to feel stabilized, which allows us to recalibrate. It allows us to come back into ourselves. And then guess what usually happens right after that? Once we feel safe, once we feel recalibrated, there's usually a burst. There's an expansion, there's an extension, there's an opening that happens, which then causes the next step. There's another S. And that next growth point usually destabilizes us again. That's what it does. You grow, you see the growth before you see what's possible, you're feeling the changes, you're feeling what's coming, and you're starting to take steps towards it. And all of a sudden, the destabilization comes because all of a sudden you're stepping out of yourself, you're stepping out of your old world, you're stepping out of the frameworks, and you're stepping into something new, and the ego starts freaking out. That's what usually happens. And then you have a choice in that moment. Do I continue to move forward into my growth, or do I fall back into what was safe again? Do I continue forward into the growth and which is going to create the soul's next expression, or do I fall back into what was safe again? You see it, right? It's like the little mouse that comes out and is like looking around. It's like, is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? And in a moment, it's like, "Okay, it's safe. The coast is clear." And it comes out, and all of a sudden, it's like, retreat, retreat, retreat. It runs right back to its hole because it's not safe all of a sudden. There are many things that will tell you things aren't safe. So we also have to get clear. And this is some of the work that we're going to do because for those that are saying yes and coming into Thrive or Light Leadership, there's going to be moments where you're going to expand and grow, and then you're going to have a stabilization, restabilization, destabilization moment. And that's some of the work that we're going to do with everybody because it's so important for every single person, I believe, on this planet to learn this because this happens all the time. And what causes us to play small, so this is the other side of playing safe, and then we're going to talk about playing in the soul. The other side of playing safe, it could cause us to play small, which causes us to retract, and it causes us to stay exactly where we are, and nothing expands. So sometimes playing safe can stabilize us, sometimes it could have us playing small. And there were times in my life, not that many, because I'm a bit of a risk taker that way. I'm like, if I see something that's going to grow me and I know it's going to expand my journey, I'm going to go for it. I'm a little bit of a risk taker like that, where I'm like, I just know it's not even a risk. It's just knowing. For me, it's never felt like a risk because it's always felt like my soul's call. It's always felt like a soul thing that's been put on my path, and I just know that that's the journey I'm supposed to take, or else it wouldn't come before me. So when we start to play safe and it causes us to shrink back, we then fall into playing small. And when we play small, it limits our journey and it limits our growth and it limits how much we can actually express and expand and fulfill our purpose. So I really want you to take a look at that for yourself. Okay. I was just talking to them about
Yeah.
playing safe, and sometimes playing safe can stabilize us in
Yes.
the times where there's a lot of chaos or change. Sometimes we need that. But
Yeah.
then there's also this flip side, the shadow side of playing safe could also be
Stagnation.
stagnation, which is another S, which
Yeah.
causes us to play small,
Yeah.
and that stops our growth.
Yes.
So I really want you to look at this as homework, soul work, because you know, and if you can see that for yourself, then you'll know what your next step is. You'll know if you need to take a step forward. You'll know if this is a stabilization time. You'll know if this is where I need to be right here, right now. You'll know if the next step is to actually expand and grow. But you got to be honest with yourself if it's causing you to play small. Okay. Now let's talk about playing in the soul. This is the last piece. When you start to play in the soul, and this is why I love this drop down of play safe or play in the soul. When you play in the soul, I'm going to ask you, how does it feel to play in the soul, in your soul's expression? Based on what you know of your soul and what the soul represents for you, what does it feel like when you play in alignment with your soul? Expansive and light, right? Even the song right now, the Phil Collins song, right?
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this moment for all my life.
Yeah.
This is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the expression of our soul. And so for me, and I'd love for you to speak into this too. For me, when I'm in, and I love that song, right? It's so good. Like it's such alignment, right? I've been waiting for so long, right? Like we feel like we're waiting for so long. I've been waiting for this moment. And then we're like, the moment's here. So what am I going to do? I can feel it. I feel the soul chills. I feel the spirit chills. I feel the movement. I feel the energy. This is my moment to step forward. This is my energy to say yes. This is my opportunity to grow. That's the soul. The soul gets excited. The soul gets expansive. It feels light. It feels happy. It feels joyful. It feels fulfilled. Alignment starts happening in terms of even the music around us. All the things just start to like, your head tingles. It's like everything's lighting up. Everything looks more colorful. Everything looks brighter. The sun comes out, but when there was like a sky full of clouds, there's it's like there's air, right? The air in the air in the room changes. Something shifts because there's an expansion. The soul loves expansion. You want to add to that?
Yeah. What I want to say is, that saying, throwing caution to the wind. The soul looks at it like that. It looks at things as things are always going to work out. You're an eternal being. Things are always all right. From the human perspective, it feels limited. From the soul's perspective, it is unlimited. Even if it seems like you're not going to do it on time, you're still going to make it through, right? So the soul doesn't have this element of heaviness or worry or concern for that matter because it knows you're okay. So from that perspective, it could almost feel more like a game and more like fun, right?
Yeah.
And that's a different way of looking at it. So from the soul's perspective, there just isn't that level of seriousness that we have as humans, right? The human perspective is heavy. Everything has to be exactly right and all of this sort of stuff. This is where you catch people taking like forever to do simple things like they wrote a book or whatever and they hold on to it forever and they read it a million times and they never release it and all that. So because they're afraid to just let that out because it's so serious. Whereas when playing in the soul, it's just like, oh, well, if I don't get it right, I'll just do another one. I'll just do whatever, it's that type of thinking. And it might seem like it doesn't make sense because you might feel like, well, why not shoot for perfection? But what if perfection is in the process?
And in the releasing of it.
Yes, yes, right. So there's a different way to look at things. And from the soul's perspective, if you can look at things in from the soul's perspective, you just feel more joy in each action you take. You see that it's not the wrong way, but a way, right? There are many different ways, and it's a way. And then as you take that way, you start to see the variations that you can make, and you can then lead yourself towards fulfilling your purpose, but not so heavy and serious. Yeah. Go ahead.
100%. No, I love that. And so as we wrap up here, I want to highlight this with an example. So the kids have been patiently waiting while we're doing this class, and Aria has shifted. There's like four different living rooms in this space. So now she's over in another one. And the boys, they got tired of playing on the Nintendo, which is amazing. And they made were you playing hopscotch? Did you make like a hopscotch game or something?
The rubber bands.
So we have to kick it whoever that team by the door is.
See, so they made a game up. They made up a game using these rubber band bracelets, and there's tiles that are those hexagons?
Hexagons, yeah. One, two, three, four, five.
Hexagons, and they made up like this game that they toss it, and then you were jumping onto it, right?
No, you kick
You
it.
kick it.
They had to kick it. So here,
Team by the
this is the simple joy of like playing in the soul, playing in your soul's expression. It doesn't have to be so serious, and life doesn't have to be so grueling or intense. It's how you show up to it. You could make it a game. It could be easy. It could be fun. It could be joyful. You could play in alignment with your soul, or you could be playing in alignment with what was the other one that I said? Oh, yeah, playing safe. Playing safe. So we want you to contemplate that today as you go into today. We have two more bonus sessions for you on Monday and Tuesday, 12 to 1. And the last thing that I want to bring forward is this. There are some bonuses that disappear late tonight. So we're going to be probably arriving in the next location around 8 or 9. Those bonuses are going to be active until we land in that space around 8 or 9. Okay. Some of the bonuses are energy shaping, soul resonance alchemy. There's some extra saving. There's some money toward coming to one of our in-person retreats. There's some other really beautiful bonuses that are going to expire tonight. So if you are considering coming into Thrive Evolution or Light Leadership, please let us know. Reach out to myself or Gabriel. Alexandra, she's got the day off today because they're rebuilding their house. Many of you know that they're rebuilding right now, and so she had to be on site with the house. So if you want to register today to get all the bonuses, there'll still be some great bonuses until Tuesday. But if you want access to all the bells and whistles, reach out to myself first today because Gabriel's going to be driving. And so reach out to me and then we'll figure it out. We'll be in the vehicle. I'll have my phone on, I'll have my laptop up, and we'll have Wi-Fi on and all the things. So reach out to me so we can get you guys set up. Don't reach out to Alexandra today. If it's tomorrow or Tuesday, reach out to her, but she's off today. Okay. So I just want to make sure y'all know that. I just want to speak into Thrive and Light Leadership and the differences between the two because we got some questions about that overnight. The differences that I want to highlight for both of these programs. Think of it not as another program. It's a container. Okay. Both of these are containers. Thrive is the container for your self-expansion, the way the world expands around you, and especially this next section, we're going to be talking about the seeds of light, activating your seeds of light, opening up the next layer of your purpose, and then helping you put it all together, do that discernment, right? So it's kind of like if you had all the pieces of your puzzle laid out in front of you, and then you're choosing what fits where and when and why, and then you start to formulate it so that you can actualize it. That's the whole goal of this next section, both in Thrive and Light Leadership, is that you get the clarity, you get the new layers of your purpose opened up and activated, you get to discern and see what's happening, which means we're probably going to have to clean house a little bit. You're probably going to have to clear some of the fears, some of the patterns, some of the other things that are like swirling in and around you. You're going to have to clean house a little bit, which, we like to do that easily and quickly. It's not going to take you like 10 years to clear your shit. It's going to be like immediate. We're going to clean house. And then our ultimate goal is that you actualize. You take the steps to actualize your purpose now based on what is being asked of you from your soul and your highest self now, not based on what was 10 years ago, unless it's relevant still today. Now, there might be pieces from the past that are relevant today, but this is about now, who you are now. Okay. And so the difference between Thrive and Light Leadership are this: Thrive is the self and self actualization, self putting the pieces together. Light Leadership is self and the whole. So you're working on your business, you're working on strategy, you're working on soul alignment, you're working on your leadership, you're working on your identity. Your identity shifts. Who are you becoming? Who do you need to become in order to embody this next layer? There's also going to be more conversations about abundance and prosperity in Light Leadership because that's just an ongoing conversation that we have around wealth expansion, wealth creation from a very conscious place. and bringing in soul aligned strategies that are going to help you with that wealth and abundance. Because again, when you serve on the greater whole, when you serve your purpose, when you serve to the greater community, the abundance and the prosperity is a natural reciprocity that starts to happen. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And so if you are curious or you're like, okay, yes, or I have some questions, reach out to me today. I'll answer them. Oh, you're going to come on the live with me? Yes, no problem. Yes, we will get you all set up 100%. So I want to celebrate Amanda because she's coming in as well. And so I want to celebrate her today. We are celebrating you and your expansion, Amanda, and all the incredible things that you're creating and what you're up to. And we're going to hold you in such divine light and space for all the wonderful unfolding and the expansion that you're moving through. Yes, yes, such an amazing space. It really, really is. And so, if you have questions about Thrive, if you have questions about light leadership, reach out to me. If you're ready to jump in and you're like, I'm ready to go, reach out to me. We can set up a payment plan, a pay in full, a 3 pay in full. There's great bonuses. Like I said, you get to save 1,000 off of Thrive for the year. You get to save 2,000 off light leadership for the year. And then if you choose to come into this next section for the next 10 weeks, there's also some savings, some financial savings as well, and some really great bonuses. You get to have some one-on-one time with Gabriel and I. In Thrive, you get myself, Gabriel, and Alexandra to choose from. We have all of our content is live classes, live Q&A. Leadership has the live masterminds. There's also a Thrive thread where all the support, that's what happened today. And I just dropped in there before I went live with y'all. And I left some really great, I think there were like 3 or 4 3-minute audios. So that's just like extra coaching and mentoring and support, because sometimes it's in between classes, in between Q&A where the shit hits the fan and we're like, I need some support. And we're there. We're all there. Me, Alexander, Gabriel, we're all there for you. Okay. Same thing with light leadership. There's a private leadership thread that you have access to, the Thrive thread, and you have your own leadership thread to support with. And the cool thing is, for those of you that come into Thrive or light leadership, you're going to get continued access to the Soul Aligned podcast, the Align with Purpose podcast. And there's going to be continued drops in there through the next 10 weeks. And then as long as you're in Thrive or Light Leadership, you'll have continued access to that. Okay. So there's some really great bonuses. I want to leave you with this. The biggest thing that I could say is to really listen to your own inner truth, your inner knowing. Ask yourself those final questions of, am I playing small? What was the other thing that I said? Playing safe. That's what it was. Playing safe, which could stabilize you or have you playing small. So you got to ask yourself that. Or do I want to play with my soul? Do I want to play in alignment with the soul? Because the soul will always lead to expansion. The soul will always lead to greater joy. The soul will always lead to greater abundance and happiness and fulfillment. But it's up to each of us to choose where we want to play now. And I think right now is a great time to play in our soul, because it's going to lead to really beautiful expansion, abundance for all, and just like incredible things. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, listen to your soul, see how you're feeling, but at the same time, follow the path that brings you the greatest joy. Head towards that joy, head towards that fulfillment, because on some level, that's the way that your soul is speaking your language, is communicating with you to let you know, hey, it's not like a pressure thing. You don't have to do this, but you had an idea set, and this is what it looks like moving towards that. Every time you move towards it, I'll give you a little glow. You'll feel a little good. You'll feel a glimmer of positivity. You'll feel that you're moving in a positive direction. And that there is communication, right? We're always communicating. When you communicate with your soul, you feel joy, you feel inspired, you feel motivated to do things because you're moving in a direction that's going to fulfill the goal that you yourself set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is this, that I wrote down in my notes that I wanted to make sure I shared with you, is this. When you live by your soul, like what Gabriel was just saying, you find yourself, you're no longer searching or seeking. You step into a space of knowing. And there's a huge difference in terms of how that feels. So that's the first one. The second thing that happens is there's a remembering. So that's why we're saying these aren't just programs. This is a container. And especially this next section, because we're activating the seeds of light, you're activating and remembering. And Gabriel has a really great definition of remembering.
Yeah, bringing it back together, remembering, like you're putting it back together, right? So when you remember something, it's not like it's just gone away and it'll never come back. It's something that you're bringing back to now, right? Putting it back together and remembering. Yeah.
And that's why we brought forward the idea of the purpose puzzle, because you're picking up pieces every time you show up here. Every time you would show up in Thrive or Light Leadership, you're picking up another piece of your puzzle and you're remembering through activating those seeds of light. And then you're putting each piece together. Whatever you've rediscovered, you're putting it back together and it's like it clicks into place. And then all of a sudden, you actually get to see the whole puzzle. And when you see the whole puzzle, you're like, I got this. I got this. And that's why we brought forward the purpose puzzle. So in Thrive and Light Leadership, we're going to be continuing the purpose puzzle pieces. So you guys received 5 this week. In Thrive and Light Leadership, you're going to receive the remainder of those, which I believe are what, 9,
Yes.
10 or 11, something like that.
Mhm.
11 pieces. You're going to have 11 more pieces to put together that puzzle. And each one will be based on what you are activating and remembering. And then you're going to click it into place so that the whole soul purpose is revealed to you and you embody it and you actualize it. Okay? Awesome. All right. So I think that's it for today. Thank you so much. Be sure to reach out to us if you're considering stepping into Thrive, back into Thrive, into Light Leadership, or if you want to upgrade into a Light Leadership, if you're in Thrive or the membership, let us know. We're here. Reach out to me today. Okay. Those bonuses are active until about 8 or 9 tonight. And then we'll see you guys tomorrow and Tuesday for 2 more bonus sessions. Okay. Have a great day.
A wonderful one.